I am vengeance. I am the night.
Sadly, I'm not Batman. But hey, come on. It's Halloween, isn't it? So let's have some fun. You know, when people think of Halloween games, some people might think of Castlevania by Konami or Resident Evil by Capcom. But for me, I'm going to delve inside the graphic novel territory and take a look at the most critically acclaimed PS3 and 360 game by far this year. And that is Batman Arkham Asylum for the PS3, 360, and PC. But we're going to talk about the PS3 version only. You know, when I took a look at this game, it made me wonder, what type of gameplay have they not tried out with Batman yet? I mean, they already did the side-scrolling for Batman on the NES, and they already did the beat-em-up for Batman in Batman Returns on the Super Nintendo. Well, this game is definitely a change of pace in terms of gameplay, because it's the first game to introduce detective mode, which is a style of gameplay that makes you search for clues, instead of just, you know, beating up on your enemies and such. But you do get to beat them up in any way, shape, or form, but this new type of gameplay is a really big change. Now, let's fire up our PS3s, or if you have a 360 or a PC, fire up those systems, and let's give Batman Arkham Asylum a try. This is episode 4 of RRPG Reviews.
Batman Arkham Asylum is the first HD Batman game for the 7th generation of gaming. The game is more of a mixture between a detective style, stealth, and beat-em-up genre, as we do know that Batman has all of those qualities when it comes to his character. But does this game have the potential to possibly be not just the best, but one of the greatest superhero games of all time? Let us see what lies before us in our graphic novels as we take a look into the game's story. On a recurring dark and gritty night within the streets of Gotham City, the crime wave continues to escalate. However, Gotham may be a bit safer because Batman drives in the Batmobile, along with the captive Joker, towards the psychological madhouse known as Arkham Asylum. Batman gives Joker to the authorities, and he follows them to where Commissioner Gordon is waiting to view the Joker's walk towards his cell. Batman tells Gordon that he has become very suspicious as to why the Joker is in the asylum, because his capture was rendered an easy and not difficult task. Batman may have said that way too soon, as the Joker continues his diabolical taunts towards Gotham's police force, which leads him to freeing himself to run freely around the asylum grounds. Batman attempts to follow, but he is sidetracked by many of the insane criminals that are rendered free. What could the Joker be planning? Batman must travel around the grounds of Arkham Island, and he must find clues as to what his arch-nemesis is plotting. The clash amongst freaks is about to collide, once again. If you learn as to what you saw in the opening cutscenes of the gameplay, you have to traverse on the grounds of Arkham Island as the Dark Knight and see what the Joker is up to as to why he wanted to come back to the asylum. You will come around many obstacles that will keep the replay value at an everlasting high rate. Some of these things are fighting criminals with melee combat, taking down your foes with stealth, utilize the select number of gadgets to overpass obstacles, solve riddles based on the Riddler's clues, and so many others to name a few. There are also big bosses like Killer Croc, Scarecrow, Bane, and Poison Ivy. There could have been more, but it is nice to keep the roster down from being very tedious. Defeating your enemies and bosses will reward you with experience points to upgrade your health, gadgets, and combat abilities. By playing through the game's main story, the average player can complete the game in about 12 hours. But the other fun side quests like the Riddler's secrets and interview tapes can add up to about 5 to 10 extra hours of gameplay to complete everything at 100%. The plus side of completing the main objectives and side quests will reward you with character model trophies, comic book covers, bonus challenge maps, character bios, etc. Even there are trophies and achievements for those who are infatuated with those aspects in most games nowadays. There are extra challenge maps based on DLC, and they are free for the most part at this moment. Speaking of which, the challenge maps are like battling thugs and completing stealth missions. There are so many, so the appeal should be everlasting. Based on my experience, everything in the concept has immense replay value, and it is enough to keep you adventurous for the little extras. The Batman has a various amount of control schemes that centers around his movements, combat, and gadgets. I'll try to be as simple as possible, but some of these controls are required for you to know in order to stay on your feet in the asylum. Since I have the PlayStation 3 version, the controls for the default movements are as follows. In order to move Batman around, you use the left analog stick. Using the right analog stick will move the camera around to view your surroundings. The R2 shoulder button is used to crouch down to evade your enemy's sightings. The X button has a variety of uses where you can run on the floor, glide in the air from high ledges, and use certain items that are displayed. Double tapping the X button will help you evade damaging projectiles that get in your line of fire. Dropping down onto platforms is executed with the circle button. Pressing on the right analog stick will let you zoom in and view things that are far away or hard for you to read. Stealth and high exploration are very important aspects, as you must hit the R1 shoulder button to use your grapple gun to grapple onto high ledges that are impossible for you to reach from where you are. There are a few other things that are basic, but let us move on to the combat for now. Attacking your enemies in melee combat is easily done with the square button. Countering oncoming enemy attacks are executed with the triangle button. This can also be used to silently take down enemies when you're in stealth mode. Linking your attacks on various enemies can rack up some high points in order for you to get a high score. This is quite essential to the challenge maps in the game. Other than that, that's what you have to know about combat. There are throws, takedowns, and uses for the Batarang, but that can be viewed in the game. Using your gadgets is another one of the Dark Knight's specialties. Equipping your gadget for use is done with the L1 shoulder button, and using it can be executed with the R1 shoulder button. Don't forget that using the D-pad can help you select certain gadgets that you want to have selected on screen. Some of them are only used when there are certain obstacles that prompt you to use the specific device in order to press on. Tapping the L2 shoulder button enters from the default exploration mode to detective mode to find signs of life, forensics trails, etc. Holding down on the L2 shoulder button takes pictures in the process of environmental analysis. Once again, this is usually for the Riddler challenges. Overall, the controls are vast in the amount, but they are flawless as to what they are used for. I have not seen a comic book game that looks this beautiful since X-Men Origins Wolverine, and this definitely pushes the Unreal 3 engine to its full potential with the dynamic lighting, realistic character models, and the grungy textures of Arkham Island. To give the game an even better sense of realism, Rocksteady Studios implemented PhysX game physics by NVIDIA to push the graphic overhaul by a milestone. Even Speed Tree is properly used to show off virtual foliage with animation in the environment. This type of aspect is shown to show tree leaves, grass, and water be blown by wind in real time. When I look at Batman in this game, it seems that this type of Batman is an original figure that does not represent himself from any movie or comic book storyline of any matter. He is donned in the cape and cowl that Batman would normally look like in many incarnations of his character, but it seems more like his regular suit, but more armored like the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. It's awesome. I mean, everything in the visuals is awesome, so the characters are not the only thing to have going for in terms of graphics. Even when looking at this game, I can say that the visuals are not going to be outdated for a very long time. It just looks so pretty.